Hey everybody, good morning and welcome back to Spiritual Healthcare Day 9. Um, Today, knock on wood, somewhere, wood, that there's no technical glitches this round, and we're going to be doing this live again. It sort of worked out yesterday, I guess, where I was able to at least do the class and then upload the video, which was great. But it is just so much better to do it live because it's way more fun when I get to interact with you guys and hang out and answer questions. So we've got some amazing questions today. As you guys know, I've been doing this every day since we all got told to go home and stay there. And so what I'm hoping to do with spiritual healthcare is just be able to bring some ideas, bring some resources, have that sense of community where we can still talk about paranormal research, and see where it's going. And the cool thing is that eventually here, we're going to be probably in the next couple of days, we're going to be talking about the relationship between paranormal events and the pandemic, because there's some interesting studies that are actually going on right now in regards to what's going on with COVID-19 and paranormal phenomena. So we're going to talk about that in a little while. I'll say hello to everybody watching. It's great to be back doing this live again this morning because yesterday, as I say, was kind of a pain in the butt. So we've got some awesome questions this afternoon, and some really kind of like fall down the rabbit hole questions, which I totally love. And so we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about the author of the Mothman prophecies, if those of you guys who are familiar with that, and a question that relates to one of his theories about paranormal phenomena. We're gonna be reading again from we'll be doing this one because Oneness with All Life, because it's an amazing book, and I've got a reading that's super relevant for us today. From that, I've got a really cool thing for you guys to go and do afterwards, which is always a blast, and a new process for you guys to play with as well, to make sure that we're keeping our vibrations high and we're staying in alignment and all of that kind of thing. So I want to get right into the questions though, because we've got some really good ones today. And the first one is actually coming from Cameron from Twitter, and he wrote in last night with a really interesting one. He asked, what do you think of John Keel's theory that all paranormal phenomenon, ghosts, UFOs, and cryptids, are actually interdimensional in nature? And I love this question because this opens up a whole new can of worms, of course, as this often does. And so John Keel, first of all, for those of you guys who don't know who that is, I hope some people probably have seen the movie The Mothman Prophecies, right? It was really famous, really great movie. Richard Gere played John Keel, and it was about this creature that showed up. It was a true story. It was about this creature called the Moth, that got nicknamed the Mothman, that would show up before a disaster would hit. And it was very much a true story. The Mothman has been reported all over the world. And in this particular case, it involved a horrible bridge collapse in Point Pleasant. So he ended up writing about his investigation into the Point Pleasant incident and seeing the Mothman and whatnot. And there was a bunch of paranormal phenomenon that went on around this. So things like cattle mutilations, seeing the apparitions of these strange monsters, ghost phone calls, all sorts of crazy things like that. So it was really interesting. His book ended up getting published in 1975. The case itself was in 1967, and he ended up coining a term called ultra-terrestrials. Okay, so ultra-terrestrials was this idea that there's these non-physical intelligences that are kind of dipping in and out of our world all the time. So Cameron's question is involved around that is all paranormal phenomenon actually interdimensional in nature? And this is a theory, as I say, that's been going around for quite a while. So what are my thoughts on it? I think, from my perspective and from what I've learned, we're constantly interacting with that non-physical energy. And when we take a look at some of the current theories coming out with in quantum physics and even quantum computing and things like that, we're starting to see these kind of glimpses into just how flexible our reality actually is. So, for example, if we take a look at something like the double slit experiment, where it depends on the observer as to whether or not light can be seen as waves or particles, right? Photons will be either seen as waves or particles depending on the expectation of the observer. So when we take a look at something like that, we start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, you know, are we dipping into these various realities that are coming into our experience? And I think the answer in a lot of these situations is we have to take that very seriously, that there are things that are, you know, moving maybe in and out of our you know, our field of perception. And we look at, for example, how much of our reality our brain actually perceives, right? It's very, very, very small, super small. And our brain only processes a small spectrum of information. So when we take a step back and we look at the world, you know, with our limited perspective, knowing what else is there, you begin to wonder, is there more that we can see? You know, these beings that are kind of in and out, why not? You know, how else would we explain something like the Mothman or something like that that doesn't seem to be, you know, a spirit or a human spirit or anything like that? It doesn't seem to be, you know, something necessarily negative, because it seems to show up right before a disaster, almost like a warning. But what the heck is it? You know, hundreds and hundreds of people see these things. So I think, in my opinion, we have to take that theory into consideration, that, hey, wait a minute, this might be a situation where, you know, we are sort of getting glimpses into just how vast our universe is, which is pretty cool. So thank you, Cameron, for that. I think that's a great discussion point, and I think it's something that we have to bring up in future shows too, because it's so cool. Okay, so the next question anyway came from Sandy on Facebook. Hi, Sandy. And it's a great question, is why do some spirits not know they are dead? And this question comes from a little bit of a false premise, actually, because it's an old notion that, you know, people pass away and then they're confused and they don't know what's going on, and so on and so forth. But in parapsychology and in the research that institutes like Windbridge Institute have done, you know, with things like channeling and mediumship and things like that, they actually don't find that that's the case at all. They find, which is great, they find that once people make that transition over, they become very aware, you know, excited to impart information, and not so much following this idea that they're, you know, that they're stuck in some sort of limbo. And we can trace that notion, even though you see it on television, I know, all the time, you guys, this whole, you know, we have to help this person cross over and this type of thing. But when we start to look at the actual, the research being done, we don't see that at all. So when we get into something like this, you know, we have to start looking at it from I guess from the universe's perspective a little bit, and that is in the sense that the universe really doesn't need our help to do its own thing, to allow people to move over and cross over. It's got this. It really does. It's really got this. So we can trust it in that way. And as I say, when we see these, you know, we see this oftentimes in the television shows where, you know, it's dramatic and it's interesting that, you know, we have to, you know, create some ritual to help this person pass over or whatever. But honestly, they seem to come in visitation. They don't really, the idea that they get stuck doesn't really happen. It's, you know, as it makes for dramatic TV, but it's, when we look at the research, and you can go back into places like the Science Encyclopedia, some of the research that's come from the Gansfeld experiments, and you know, other areas like Princeton, their parapsychology lab and stuff like that, and we don't really see that, which is, as I say, it's a positive thing. So thank you, Sandy, for asking that. I think that covers a lot. The next question I just love, and it actually came from Shadow on Twitter, And this one relates actually very much to what we're talking about here. And Shadow asks, when paranormal investigators do cleansings, there seems to be quite a few different types of rituals or cleansing that are used. I myself prefer to just clear negative energy using sage or Epsom salt and witch hazel, which is basically the same type of clearing. Should the cleansing or clearing of a haunted location be based on the haunted person's beliefs? If not, are we playing darts until we find the one that works, since we don't generally know what the deceased beliefs were? I love this question. Hi, David. This is a fantastic question, because this is something that I've noted investigators run into all the time. And Shadow, you've actually hit it on the head here, which is, should the cleansing or clearing of the haunted location be based on the person's beliefs? So there's two parts to this answer, you guys. The first is that, yeah, absolutely. This is really about getting the person to the best state of mind they can. And we go back to taking a look at, again, our client's emotional state, right? So we've talked about this in other spiritual healthcare classes, where what we've noticed is that that person's emotional state is really going to determine the type of activity that they end up getting, right? So say, for example, you've got somebody who, tends to lean onto sort of the depressed or negative side. And, hi, Kenneth. You get somebody who is, leaning to the depressed or negative side, and, they turn around and they're trying to fix the, fix the situation by pulling out sage because they heard that would work, or they try to bless the house with holy water because they heard that would work, or, they're looking on the internet and trying to find things, but they don't shift their emotional center, right? So if they don't do that, what happens is that you end up attracting the same stuff over and over and over again. So this is a big issue, because oftentimes we'll see people, right, that will be going around and, they'll be moving from house to house to house to house, and they're trying everything and they're going, oh my God, nothing works, or something works for maybe a week and then they come back and it's everything happens again. It's because they haven't shifted that emotional center, right? So because they're still attracting on that same kind of frequency, nothing is working. So when I'm dealing with clients, and I actually teach a class on this in some of the colleges and universities, we can't turn around and bring something to people that doesn't make them feel better. We have to meet them where they are, not where you are. So for example, if we have a situation where, I don't know, you've got somebody who may be Buddhist, and you bring them a ritual or something like that, and maybe they don't do rituals at all. Maybe their thing is painting, or they find a different way to feel better, right? If that's their situation, then that's what you have to promote that. How can we get you to a better state of being so that you start attracting this better thing? So that's exactly why, as I say, people will go in, try to figure out, okay, if I just do these things out here, then it's going to work, right? That's not how it works. If the ritual helps you to get to that better emotional place, bam, keep doing it. Make yourself feel good, paint, draw, pat your cat, whatever it is for you, and do that thing. But it is going to look different for everybody. That's why when I sit down with clients or anything like that, it's one thing I always take into account is what is it that brings them joy? Because it might not look like yours, and that's okay. So once you can understand sort of where they're coming from, what makes them happy, what gets them excited, then all of a sudden, you've got the potential to move them or help move them. You're always the compass, never the solution. But you can help to move them and guide their compass to this better feeling place, which therefore gets them attracting different paranormal activity. And all of a sudden, either the space either clears up completely because they're just not in range of it anymore, or they end up basically experiencing the best of the best when it comes to activity, because this stuff can be so much fun. So thank you, Shadow, because I love that. I love that. And she's got a couple more questions for tomorrow, which we're gonna get into, because it's just, I love your questions. I love the deep questions like that. You guys keep sending them in. It's absolutely fantastic. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Now, I wanted to get into a little bit of reading because, hi Callie. I wanted to get into a little bit of reading with you guys because the segment that I want to read to you guys today, I think, is super relevant for what we've been talking about. And again, it comes from Eckhart Tolle. Yes, I know the book is backwards. It's the camera. Oneness with All Life. And so I'm going to read you guys this little segment because it's really cool. We have to enter the body to go beyond it and find out that we are not that. Equating the physical sense-perceived body that is destined to grow old, wither, and die with I always leads to suffering sooner or later. To refrain from identifying with the body doesn't mean that you neglect, despise, or no longer care for it. If it is strong, beautiful, or vigorous, you can enjoy and appreciate those attributes while they last. You can also improve the body's condition through the right nutrition and exercise. If you don't equate the body with who you are, when beauty fades, when vigor diminishes, or the body becomes incapacitated, this will not affect your sense of worth or identity in any way. In fact, as the body begins to weaken, the formless dimension, the light of consciousness, can shine more easily through the fading form. I think that's so important for right now. I think that's so important for today. A lot of people are, of course, having questions or worries about, of course, the virus that's going on and, all the crazy stuff that's happening in the world. And I think we have to turn around and start to pay attention to readings and things like that, because when we start to leave the idea of form behind a little bit, and we start to realize that no, this is about non-physical. This is about all of the wonderful, amazing things that are happening right now, and our connection with that, our connection with that non-physical part of us, then we can start to work a little bit easier in a changing environment, because that's what's happening right now. Everything is changing and shifting, and some people are having a lot of trouble with that. The other day I actually spoke about the idea that some of this is grief that we're experiencing. This flux of change really ends up to be a form of grief. And if we can acknowledge that and be easy on ourselves about it, and know that it will pass, we can start to find our footing a little bit better. So I think it's just always super, super important. Now, I wanted to give you guys something. I always give you guys something cool to go and do, and I wanted to give you guys something to do today that was just kind of fun. So I have, back in Edmonton here, for the last number of years, I've been running an event called the Fireside Ghost Experience. And Fireside Ghost Experience is about, basically what I do is I pack everybody onto a limo bus, and it's done up like a cabin, and we have a fire going on the screen in the back, so we hear the campfire. And I get to take people all over the city and teach them about cases that I've investigated and parapsychology. And basically it's like telling ghost stories around a campfire, except they're super, super true, right? So really neat. But I want to kind of bring that to you guys a little bit today. And so what I'm recommending is that at some point, pull out your candles, pull out your blankets. If you guys have marshmallows or anything like that in the house, bring those out for, hot chocolate or whatever. And what I want you guys to do is go and pull up a website called Creepypasta. Yeah, you heard me right. It's called Creepypasta. And there are some amazing stories on Creepypasta. Some of them are ghost stories. Some of them are encounters and true encounters and things like that. And have yourselves a fireside. Have yourselves a fireside evening. Curl up, grab your tablet, whatever you can read online where you can kind of curl up somewhere, and read some ghost stories. And and the true ones are the best ones. So read those ones. Yeah, or go look up the Mothman prophecies. But yeah, Creepypasta is a great website to do this. It's full of stories, it's full of information, and it's really a blast. So I'm going to post the link to that on the Entity Seeker website, and so that you guys can go and grab it on Facebook and set up and curl up and do that, because why not? What else are we doing right now? Nothing, right? So yeah, it's always just, I think, just is so much fun to be able to curl up and do this kind of thing. So enjoy that, enjoy the homeness of what we have right now, because it's super cool. And Kenneth here is recommending Scream Radio as well. So thank you, Kenneth. So I want to conclude today with our affirmations, because they are so important and so important to keep doing. And I also want to give you guys another process to do as well. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our vibration really high, that we're keeping things light and uplifted within our spaces, right? We can't control what's going on outside, but we sure as hell can control what's going on inside and how we deal with it. So I want to give you guys a process that I use all the time, and it's called the gratitude journal. Okay, so gratitude journal. Hold on. Yeah, see, gratitude journal. So every day, you guys have a book or paper or use your phone or whatever. I find the power of writing is really great. Find 5 things that you guys can be thankful for that day. And it doesn't matter if you've had a bad day. Sometimes actually, if you've had a bad day, it's even better, because it forces you to start looking for things to be appreciative of. Okay, so the process of appreciation is so powerful, because we end up attracting the best things when we are sitting in the standpoint of appreciation. It is just so important. So I want you guys to start doing gratitude journals. As I say, 5 things, at least 5 things. You're probably going to find like way more than 5 every day in your journal. Yay. And eventually what I'm going to have is I'm going to have on available on Entity Seeker gratitude journals with either it's going to have the Entity Seeker logo on it or something like that, so that you guys can actually get some gratitude journals, because I think it's just super, super important. So yeah, so grab your journals, 5 things a day. Okay, if you think of more, just keep writing. And it starts to, as I say, reshape your brain after a while, because you start looking for, hi Burton, different things to be grateful for within the environment every day, because you realize you have to, you gotta have these 5 things by the end of the day. So affirmations, everyone take a deep breath. It is natural for my body to be well. Even if I don't know what to do in order to get better, my body does. I have trillions of cells with individual consciousness, and they know how to achieve individual balance. When the condition began, I didn't know what I know now. I don't need to understand the cause of this illness. I only have to gently, eventually release this illness. It doesn't matter how it got started, because it's reversing its course right now. There's no hurry about any of this. My body knows what to do. Well-being is natural to me. My inner being is intricately aware of my physical body. My cells are asking for what they need in order to thrive, and Source is answering those requests. I'm in very good hands. My only work is to relax and breathe. And I can do that easily. Take a deep breath. And out. You guys, thank you so much for watching. I would say we've got some really neat topics tomorrow. I hope you guys can make it on April the 4th. That's this coming Saturday for Ritual, Exorcism, and Film and Television on Crowdcast. Okay, it's going to be at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and I can't wait to have all you guys there. As I say, I normally only do it at the comic expos, but we're going to be doing it. We are going to be doing it. You're welcome, Ursula. We're going to be doing it live on Crowdcast. It's only $20. come and join. It's not going to be on Facebook. It'll be on crowdcast.io. It's a fantastic platform. I'm so glad to be working with them. I would love to have you guys come out. It's going to be really great. We're going to be like one-on-one like this, but we're going to be talking about exorcism, and you'll get the full show and the videos and all of that are all coming, that all come with it at the expo. It's like sitting in the expo audience, but it's a little bit more intimate than that. So it's going to be really fun. So please grab your tickets for it. I can't wait to be able to do that and present that for you guys. It's going to be wonderful, and we're going to be getting to hear from people that, you know, had the journals from the original case of The Exorcist and stuff like that. It's pretty neat. So yeah, I'm gonna be listening to evidence and all sorts of crazy stuff. So anyway, hope I see you guys then, but I will see all of you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, just like we did today, for another spiritual healthcare. If you guys have questions, something you want to talk about, please send them in. Please send them in. Post them in the comments, send them to me on Twitter, send them to me on Facebook, you know, whatever you want to do. Send me the questions. I love having these discussions with you guys, and I will get to as many of them as I can. So that would be fantastic. Have an amazing Sunday, everybody, and I will talk to you all, well, you know, tomorrow. Okay, bye.